Hello, my name is Cher Grieving, and this is my case study on Internet use violations for EDL 850. First of all, let's identify the problem and analyze the problem. What do I know? I know that this problem took place at Roosevelt High School, which is in a very affluent area with affluent families, which means they were very wealthy and did not want for anything. The principal in the high school is Dr. Stephen Forbes. He is an established principal, respected by students and parents, and works hard to acquire qualified teachers. He has just recently been recognized as Principal of the Year. The teacher is Miss Cindy Walker. Cindy has a master's degree with additional hours on top of her master's, but she waited for a while before obtaining her degree and then finding a teaching job. So she's an older teacher, but she is a first-year beginning teacher. Miss Walker has a very serious approach to her instructional delivery, which can cause the students some anxiety and some stress. She is very serious about her content and has very high expectations for her students. There was an email that was received by Miss Walker threatening her, degrading her, calling her names, and telling her to leave. She has reason to believe that the student who created the website and sent the email is Randy Franks, because Randy has been a disruptive influence in Miss Walker's classroom. What do I need to know? First of all, I need to know about Miss Walker and her students. What kind of relationships has she formed with her students? Are they positive relationships? Does she have some negative relationships? Does she have students who like her as a teacher and want to do well in her classroom, who want to walk through that door and be in her classroom? Or does she have students, more than not, that really don't care for her as a teacher, think that she's out to get them, think that she's out to fail them? What are her relationships like with her students? What kind of respect has she earned from her students and from also her coworkers and her peers within the district? I also need to know I know that the teacher has responded negatively towards some suggestions by the principal, by Mr. Forbes. He has given her some suggestions to increase her relationships with the students, and she hasn't really taken action on those suggestions, and she's kind of ignored those. So I really want to know why she has chosen to not respond to some of the suggestions given to her by Mr. Forbes. Mr. Forbes does have a record of complaints concerning the teacher, and so I need to investigate, or I as the principal needs to investigate what her approach is, what kind of discipline she has within the classroom, what her expectations are. If I have a parent call about Miss Walker, I want to know what's going on in her classroom so that I can answer appropriately and not act like I have never been in her classroom before. What kind of record of behaviors has she kept in class? How many behavior referrals has she had to the principal for student behavior referrals? I need to talk to the technology director about this email that was sent, and I need to see if he can help me, or he or she can help me find the source of the email and where it may have been sent from. And then I also need to do some investigating on the student Randy Franks and his history and previous behavior referrals. We need to identify the problem. Miss Walker is a first-year teacher who has a reputation for creating stress because of her rigorous curriculum. We have parents calling in complaining that their student is not earning a good grade, and their student has valedictorian or salutatorian on the line, and how come she has to be so hard in her grading, and she's not reaching out to my student, but instead she's talking over their heads. She has too high of expectations, that sort of thing. Ms. Walker is a first-year teacher who at this point is not responding to suggestions offered by the principal. Also part of the problem that, like I talked about before, the parents and the students are complaining. We know that the problem is a teacher has received a threatening email that has scared her, and the teacher is confident she knows which student may have sent the email. So we need to look into that as part of the problem. And now the part of the problem is also that the teacher is now afraid to stay alone in her house. So what steps, in category 2, what steps can I take to resolve the problem? I'm going to start talking as if I were the principal in this situation and my teacher is Miss Cindy Walker. And my first plan of action would be to interview and communicate with anybody that I can or anybody that I trust to give me information, and then that person won't go spread it around, or someone that won't give me false information just to protect the identity of another person. I'm going to interview, first of all, Miss Walker. What were the recent behaviors of Randy in your class? And are there any other suspicious students that may have a reason to send such an email? I'm going to interview certain students that I trust. And this is important because I'm not just going to go pick on any student and have them come into my office and ask them questions. It has to be a student that I have a relationship with, that they know they can trust me, and I trust them to give me accurate information. Not just make up information or second guess themselves. And I'll know who those students are, but I want to know, what do they know and how do they perceive Miss Walker. A lot of times students want to speak, they've just not been given the chance to speak, and then they're too scared to come in on their own. I also will interview other teachers. What do you know? What do you know about Miss Walker? What do you know about Randy Franks? What do you know about relationships in her classroom? And students will talk, because they'll go to the next classroom and they'll talk about, eventually talk about the email. So I want my other teachers in the building to keep their ears open and be aware of what has happened. Again, I won't tell every teacher this. I will just pick a couple or 3 that I can trust, that I know might have some information and would relay that information to me honestly, and then not go out and spread it around. I also will bring the technology coordinator on board, and I will talk to that person about helping me track the source of the email. Eventually, I will interview Randy Franks, if evidence is pointing to him. And I just need to be, as the building leader, the principal, I need to be visible. And I need to be visible in the hallways and visible within the classroom, especially Miss Walker's classroom, off and on. And I don't want to look too suspicious, but I need to give the students a chance to talk to me and maybe tell me something if they feel the need. So I have some strategies to implement my plan. First of all, when I'm interviewing these people, I will keep it brief, because I do not want them to get overwhelmed. I do not want them to think that I'm just prying and prying for information. So I will bring them in, get to the point, and let them go. I will not disclose any information that would expose Miss Walker to the public or to the media. I cannot put her reputation in danger because of something we really don't know the facts about. I will keep all information from interviews confidential, and I will only release information on a need-to-know basis for educational purposes. So if the secretary next door wants to know why I've had my door shut and why I'm interviewing all these people, she doesn't need to know right now. I will only release information on a need-to-know basis. But if the school psychologist came in and asked me about Randy and if there's anything she could do, or asked me about Miss Walker and if there's anything she could do to help the situation, I might rely on her to give me some pointers while interviewing these people. I will visit again with the technology coordinator and develop a plan and make sure that he or she understands the importance of keeping all the information confidential. And finally, I will reassure Miss Walker that we are taking action and will do everything in our power to keep her safe and to resolve this issue. More strategies in implementing my plan. I will have another adult in the room during the interviews. I feel this is very important, not for intimidation tactic, not as an intimidation tactic, but just because there has to be 2 sets of ears, I feel like. So this person might be another administrator within the building. Maybe the school counselor could be in the room while interviewing, so that there's two sets of ears that are hearing what is being said. And then I will know and understand the district's acceptable use policy, because every district needs to have a technology acceptable use policy, and I need to know that and be very thorough in my knowledge of that, so that I am following the steps that are written in that policy. I will eventually involve law enforcement if needed. And what is best for my students while I am trying to resolve the issue but promoting the success of all students for Category 3. First of all, I will not bring the public and the media attention to the issue. That it will not be good for the reputation of the school, or it will not be good for the teacher and the students. I will only interview students that I trust and that I know can handle the issue. I also will follow the guidelines set forth in policies such as acceptable use and our confidentiality policy. I will promote and ensure a safe environment for all students. I will also work closely with law enforcement to ensure that appropriate consequences are in place, and again, to ensure the safety of all students. In debriefing the problem while reflecting in Category 4, what am I thinking, feeling, and valuing as I respond to the problem? As the principal, I will be thinking of policy, the policies that we have in place within our policy book, and I will be thinking of whether I am following it correctly or not. And I will be reviewing these policies to make sure I'm taking appropriate action. And I will also be thinking of the safety for Miss Walker and for all of the students at my school. I will be thinking of how I can ward off the media from becoming involved and spreading misinformation. Again, this would just be very destructive for my school and their reputation. I am valuing other administrators in my school and the law enforcement who is helping me to investigate. I am valuing their help in investigating this situation, and I am evaluating consequences for this type of behavior and making sure it fits within our policy. Finally, I am thinking of the future for Miss Walker and the best environment for her at my school. When all is resolved, I need to figure out if she is in the best situation and environment she can be in, or do I need to move her around a little bit to just try to help ensure that something like this will not happen again. Also, while I'm debriefing, I will think of the issues that are still unresolved or open for further discussion. What is the best classroom environment for Miss Walker? Where can she have success with her personality and her teaching instruction? Also, what action needs to be taken to assure and convince Miss Walker that she is safe and she is a valued employee? She is scared at this point in time, and if she's a good teacher and she's reaching to some students and doing a nice job, then I don't want to lose her. I just need to take action to think about where another environment might be for her. Classrooms with maybe just a little different curriculum, or just the level of students in there. Do we as a school district need to educate our high school students on the seriousness of misusing technology? I may be thinking at this time that we haven't done a very good job of this. If we have a student that has created a website and sent an anonymous email threatening a teacher, maybe we need to amp up our curriculum on technology use. And at what age do we need to start teaching our students on computer ethics? If this thing is happening in my school, I want to make sure we're getting the word out to students how serious of a problem this can be. In Category 5, when I reflect on Standard 5, I'm going to think about how did I demonstrate a sense of integrity and ethical behavior. First of all, I, as the building administrator, provided protection for Ms. Walker from exposure to the public or to the media during the time of investigation. I feel like I was doing an ethical thing by protecting her reputation. Also, the information obtained through interviews while investigating was kept confidential. I wanted to maintain that trust between myself and my students and myself and the staff, and I feel like that's an ethical behavior, confidentiality. I refrained from accusing or threatening punishment to any student until the investigation process was complete and we had concrete evidence. Again, I feel like this is an ethical behavior and a little bit of integrity that I did the right thing and not start pointing fingers. And my goal is